We appreciate every single one of you. Tell us where you're watching from in the comments. Now let's begin. I saw him again, Miles, and I think I still feel something. She said it softly, not like a bomb dropped, but more like the delicate sound of a door quietly locking behind you. Final, subtle, suffocating. There was no warning, no shift in her voice that might have braced me for the blow. It was just another evening at the table, halfway through dinner. My fork, twirled in a nest of Madeira spaghetti, slid silently back onto the plate. The words didn't shake the room, but they rearranged the air between us. Rebecca, my wife of 7 years, sat across from me, calmly explaining that she'd run into her ex Julian. The name sat between us like an open wound. She told me that seeing him had stirred something inside her, an echo of something unresolved. I didn't lash out. I didn't demand details or explanations. I didn't even flinch. I just asked for words I never thought I'd say to my wife. Do you love him? Her lips parted slightly, and her breath caught like a fragile thread in the silence. The pause that followed was louder than anything she could have said. I don't know, she whispered. That's why I need time. Time. The most cruel and cowardly thing she could have asked for. She didn't want clarity. She didn't want to fight for us. She wanted the space to drift, to disappear from my life, so she could explore someone who had already broken her once. Julian, the man who betrayed her back in college. The one she swore she'd left behind. And yet, here he was again, dragging her curiosity backward like a rusted hook buried in old scar tissue. I said nothing, just pushed my chair back and stood. This wasn't the Rebecca I married. She used to be radiant, fearless, focused, alive. She ran her own interior design firm when we met, a woman of substance and direction. I was leading logistics for a private aerospace company, both of us grounded, mature, past the point of reckless decisions. Or so I thought. That night, she packed a small overnight bag. No tears. No breakdown. Just cool detachment. She said she'd be staying at her sister's loft in Brooklyn to sort things out. I didn't chase her. Didn't beg her to stay. I watched her leave. Then I poured myself 2 fingers of whiskey, opened my laptop, and stared into the screen until the silence felt normal. She wanted time. She'd have it. But I wouldn't waste mine waiting. 3 weeks passed. She texted sparingly. Vague notes like, hope you're doing okay, and can we talk soon? Still figuring things out. I never replied. The woman sending those messages wasn't the woman I knew. She'd walked out, and something about her had vanished the moment the door clicked shut. I filled the hours with iron and sweat at the gym. Reconnected with people I'd let drift, took long, aimless drives under the city lights. I wasn't healing, I was hardening. And then I found it. Her tablet, forgotten on the bookshelf. Still logged in. An unread email, subject line, last night. I hesitated, then tapped. Julian, you always knew what to say. I haven't laughed like that in years. And that kiss. Well, I shouldn't have let it happen. But I'm not sorry. Becca. That was it. No dramatics, no confession. Just the truth, bare and casual, like it meant nothing. She'd kissed him. She'd written to him like a woman already gone. I didn't shout. Didn't throw the tablet. I just let it land like a stone in my chest. The last flicker of hope guttered out, quiet and absolute. I stood, grabbed my coat, and stepped outside into the night. The cold hit like clarity. Sharp. Clean. Purifying. She had made her choice. Now it was my turn. The next time Rebecca texted, can we talk soon? I miss you. I'd already hired a lawyer. Marcus Levon. Known in the city's sharper circles for treating divorces like strategic negotiations. Calm. Methodical. Lethal when necessary. Do you want to ruin her? He asked, tapping his Mont Blanc against a fresh legal pad. No, I said. I want to reclaim myself. And I want her to understand what she threw away. That night, we began drafting the papers. And that was just the beginning. Rebecca didn't realize how much of her world had been quietly woven into mine. The sleek downtown condo she loved, technically purchased under my private trust before we ever married. The Tesla she flaunted as a symbol of her independence, leased through my company's executive program. Even her design studio's elegant storefront was partially funded by me. A silent investor when the banks hesitated. She had leaned on me more than she realized. Now she'd feel what it was like to stand alone. Not out of cruelty, but clarity. She'd asked for time. I gave it to her. But in that time, I found something better. I found the end. And with it, the beginning of something far stronger, my freedom. Quietly, I kept funding her studio. Monthly deposits from my accounts disguised as routine transfers. I didn't shut it down right away. I observed. I adapted. I evolved. First, I changed the way I presented myself. Gone were the wrinkled khakis and off-the-rack shirts. I upgraded to tailored suits, subtle colognes, well-polished shoes. I walked into work like I belonged in the boardroom, not just behind a desk. People noticed. My assistant asked if I was seeing someone. My team lead joked I finally looked like an executive. But it wasn't for them. This wasn't about image. It was about reclamation. I was pulling back the parts of myself Rebecca had worn down over the years, piece by piece. I joined a boxing gym tucked away in Hell's Kitchen. Brutal. Honest. It taught me how to breathe through the punches. I started cooking again. Something I'd let fade because Rebecca always preferred takeout and trendy restaurants. My hands returned to cast iron and copper, to fresh herbs and homemade broths. I wandered the city on foot. No destination, just silence and motion, letting the rhythm of New York slowly stitch my mind back together. Rebecca, meanwhile, had no idea what she'd set in motion. One night, my phone lit up with her name. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail. Her voice trembling, the words shaky, uneven. I think I made a mistake. I listened to it twice. Then I deleted it. I wasn't ready to be her redemption. Not yet. She needed to sit in the silence she created. 2 weeks later, Julian ended things. Her sister Tessa called to tell me. There was hesitation in her voice, a guilt she couldn't quite disguise. He told her she was exciting, until she wasn't. Called her baggage. She's been crying nonstop. I didn't flinch. Didn't ask for more. I just listened. She still thinks there's a chance for you too, Tessa said softly. There's no chance, I said, voice calm. Certain. Rebecca hadn't just betrayed me. She'd reduced me to an option, a placeholder. Someone to fall back on. And I wasn't that man anymore. By spring I was ready. I hosted a dinner party at the condo. A final send-off. Sleek, understated elegance. Dim candlelight. Smooth jazz slipping through the speakers. Just a few close colleagues, some new friends. And the neighbors I'd built quiet rapport with. I cooked every dish myself, seared lamb, handmade ravioli, roasted root vegetables with wild garlic from the market. Wine flowed. Laughter echoed off stone and steel. Then I heard the elevator. Through the floor-to-ceiling glass I saw her. Rebecca. She'd come uninvited. She was perfectly put together, too perfect. Hair carefully curled, designer coat clutched tight, eyes searching. I opened the door without a word. Can we talk? She whispered. I led her to the hallway near the kitchen, away from the guests. She glanced toward the party, toward the life still humming without her. I didn't know you were doing all this, she said quietly. I thought you needed time. No, I replied, voice level. You needed time. I made a decision. Her lips quivered. Julian was a mistake. I shouldn't have. You shouldn't have made me your backup plan, I interrupted, gently but firmly. Her eyes brimmed with tears. Please, Miles. Can we talk? I know I messed up. I offered her a soft smile. Not from spite, but from peace. This isn't about hate, Rebecca. I'm just done. She looked at me, as if she didn't recognize me anymore. Maybe she didn't. Maybe, finally, she was seeing the man she'd once had, and the man she'd lost. You're not even angry, she whispered. I was, I said, turning back toward the party. But then I remembered who I am. She stood there a moment longer, stunned, until the elevator doors opened again. Then she was gone. 2 days later she texted, Please don't sell the condo. It's our home. I still believe we can fix this. But she was already too late. I'd listed the condo, through one of the city's top luxury agents. No backroom deal, no slow play. We had 2 full-price offers within 72 hours. A cash buyer from Boston signed immediately. When I told Rebecca, her reply was almost laughable. You can't be serious. That's my studio space. I still have stuff there. You didn't even talk to me first. I replied with a screenshot of the signed offer and one final line. You gave up your seat at the table when you left it to chase someone else. She called. I didn't answer. She called again. I blocked her. A few days later, Tessa showed up outside the building. I'm not here to change your mind, she said. Just to say I'm sorry. It wasn't enough. Not anymore. She's unraveling, Tessa added. Barely sleeping. Barely eating. Her clients are walking away one by one. I tilted my head. What are they hearing? That she left a stable marriage for a man who ghosted her. That she destroyed something real for a fantasy. People talk, Miles. Especially in our world. That's when it hit me. Rebecca's entire world had been built on appearances. Carefully curated elegance, borrowed prestige, a performance of success. And now, the mask was slipping. There was no home. No car. No studio. No Julian. Just silence and consequence. I didn't come to watch her fall, I said. But I'm not going to stop it either. By the time her calls turned to pleas, desperate voicemails asking to talk, to fix things, it didn't matter. I was gone. The last of my belongings were loaded into the moving truck bound for Seattle. A new role awaited me there. An executive promotion with broader scope, bigger challenges. But more than that, it offered something priceless, a clean slate. Before I left, I mailed Rebecca a box. Inside were the remnants she'd left behind. Her scarves, her coffee table books, her favorite photo from our trip to Italy. The glass had cracked during the move, maybe by accident, maybe not. Tucked between them was a short typed note. It read only this. You don't get to come home to a house you burned down. Rebecca, I hope one day you'll understand the difference between nostalgia and love. I loved you with every part of me completely. But you didn't love me. You loved the memory of who I was in the past. Goodbye, Miles. No drama, no threats, just the truth. That first night in Seattle, I walked alone to the pier. The air felt different, fresher, colder, alive. I sat on a bench, watching the fairy lights dance across the bay, sipping my coffee, not feeling victorious or bitter, just cleansed. Then my phone buzzed. It was a number I didn't recognize. I know you're done with me, the message began. But I have to say this anyway. You were the best thing that ever happened to me. I ruined everything. I read it once, then set my phone down. I didn't reply. Some silences speak louder than words ever could. 6 months later, my life had shifted. Not just the view from my floor-to-ceiling windows, but the way I felt waking up every day. Mornings began with quiet coffee and long runs down Alki Beach. Evenings were filled with tech meetups, dinners with colleagues, and laughter. The kind of laughter that feels real, not polite or forced. At work, I was flourishing. The West Coast office gave me everything New York never could: creative freedom, higher stakes, and respect. Within weeks, I had been promoted to lead operations on an aerospace logistics project, a high-pressure, high-reward endeavor. It felt like I was finally doing something that mattered. Outside of work, I was rediscovering who I was. I started learning French, joined a sailing club, adopted a dog named Rocket, a German Shepherd mix whose loyalty ran deeper than Rebecca's ever had. There were women, but nothing serious. I wasn't trying to fill any void. I just wanted connection, something earned, something real. Then came the email. Subject, just one conversation. Miles, I know I have no right to reach out. I don't expect you to answer. I've been following your work, your move, your success. I see your name in articles now. I still think about you, about us, about the man who would have walked through fire for me. I was blind. Julian was a mistake. He never loved me. You did. And I threw it all away. You probably hate me. Maybe you should. But I don't hate you. I miss you. I'm sorry. Please just let me know you're okay. R. I stared at the screen, the words hanging in the air like smoke. I thought about who I had been when she left. The sleepless nights, the constant replaying of our conversations, the self-doubt that took root in my mind. But that person was gone, burned away in the quiet fire of heartbreak and healing. I didn't reply. I archived the message, not out of spite, but out of peace. A few days later, I met someone unexpected. It was in a bookstore downtown. Her name was Harper. She worked in architecture, just a few blocks from my office. We both reached for the same poetry collection by David Whyte. Our fingers brushed. She laughed. We talked and kept talking. Coffee led to dinner. Dinner led to conversations that felt like oxygen after drowning. She didn't care about my past. She didn't need to. She saw me for who I was, right then unvarnished. And when she smiled at me across the table, I realized something startling. I wasn't angry anymore. Not at Rebecca, not at Julian, not even at myself. What had happened happened, but it had led me here. To this moment. To this peace. 1 year to the day after Rebecca left, I wrote her a letter. Not to send, just to write. For me. Rebecca, a year ago you asked for time. You said you needed clarity. You wanted to revisit the past before choosing a future. What you didn't understand is that real love doesn't need a dress rehearsal. I gave you loyalty, presence, truth. You gave me silence, doubts, a ghost. When I asked if you loved him, your silence answered everything. You weren't confused. You were curious. Curious about what chaos felt like. Curious if the man who once betrayed you could still ignite your passion. In doing so, you forgot the man who stood beside you, quietly every day, without needing any fanfare to prove his devotion. You thought I'd wait. You thought I'd hold the line while you played with fire. But I left. Not because I stopped loving you, but because I finally started loving myself more. You taught me the sting of indifference disguised as self-discovery. The shape of betrayal cloaked in the language of healing. And for that I thank you. Because you also taught me what I will never accept again. What I truly deserve, what peace feels like. I don't hate you, Rebecca. But I don't know you anymore. And the life I've built doesn't leave space for shadows. I hope you find what you're looking for. But just so you know, I already did. It wasn't Julian. It wasn't closure. It was freedom, asterisk. I folded the letter and placed it in a drawer beneath the deed to my new home, Rocket's adoption papers, and the flyer Harper had left on my windshield for her gallery opening. I never wrote about Rebecca again. She faded like a scent in the air. Once familiar, no longer missed. Months later, passing through New York for a conference, I didn't stop by the old neighborhood. But I did see a photo on social media, posted by a mutual friend. Rebecca was at a fundraiser, alone, smiling too brightly, holding a wine glass like it was the only thing keeping her upright. She looked stunning but hollow. I felt nothing. Now, I wake up in a city that never stops moving, in a home filled with honesty and light, next to a woman who doesn't wonder if she was someone's second choice. I live fully, not for revenge, not for appearances, but because I finally understand that peace is the loudest closure, and the deepest revenge is needing nothing at all.